games right now. And before we get into the next one, it's discussion time. This is Table Topics, where we read stories from Reddit having to do with situations in the tabletop world. We will react, discuss, and give our opinions on the chosen topics for you to enjoy and possibly take back to your gaming table. I'm your host, Kalee, and my guest today is Josh.
Howdy, everybody.
Today's topic is team-ups and takedowns. So let's get into it. So, Josh, you are coming to us from Opinionated Movie Reviews.
Yeah, Opinionated Movie Reviews, Opinionated Podcast. It's another podcast that I'm on. We've been doing it since about 2016. It's me and a few friends, and we talk about movies and really just kind of, we hang out, talk. There are plenty of times where we divert from the movie discussion and go on wild tangents and just have a fun time hanging out and talking. A little warning to your listeners, it's not necessarily a family-friendly podcast. Definitely don't listen with your kids. We get a little blue, but we have a good time. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, check it out. Yeah.
Using British slang.
Listen, folks get what it means. Yeah, there's the occasional raunchy discussion that happens on our podcast. We have a good time. Check it out if you're looking for something funny or want to listen to something about some of the movies that we talk about. Yeah, no, that's a good segue because, of course, here there's a very common word that's used on Reddit. Am I the,
A? Yeah, am I the A?
Uh-huh.
We have to change it here to am I the problem?
Yes.
So I tried a different line.
Am I the stinker?
Am I the stinker?
Just a little stinker.
Just a little stinker. Yeah. Well, coming from the world of movies, there's something beloved in especially like the action movie genre about a team up.
Sure.
About, these different people working together, taking down somebody. Great times. In games, that could be a little more of a challenge or maybe a little more personal. Do you have an account where you've either been ganged up on or joined a team up against someone else?
So I'm kind of a reformed game player because I really enjoy playing card games, board games, all that kind of thing. But I think growing up, I was too competitive. And I don't think there's such a thing as too competitive in general. I just think the way that comes out at the table, if it's not something where the rest of the people at the table are still having a good time in general, right? Because you're going to have moments where, someone's losing, so they're frustrated about it. But as a whole, you want the experience of playing this game to be fun for everybody that's participating.
Yeah.
And, if everybody at the table loves being really competitive and trying to win at all costs, then that's great. Everybody's going to have a good time. But if there's kind of a disparity between some people love that and some people want a more relaxed gameplay experience, then there's going to be conflicts that go outside of the game that you're playing. Growing up, I was competitive, and I also liked being a stinker about it, and so I'd gloat. And so my younger brother Samuel would always, unfortunately, be the person that took the brunt of that, because he is very much in the we're all just here to have a good time, and if I win, great, and if I don't, then oh man, that's cool. And I'm not. I'm like, nah, I whooped you and I'm going to let you know about it. So I'm a bit reformed in that way, where I've kind of learned my lesson. I'm more interested in making sure everybody has a fun time at the table. But recently I was ganged up on, and it didn't feel good because it was being ganged up on by the type of player that my brother is. And if you've never been ganged up on by people who aren't in it to win it, they just want to make sure that you don't. As a competitive player, it feels so much worse. I'm like, if you were trying to win and doing this, I'd be okay, because I get that. But you're just we were playing Catan.
Yeah.
Right. And I rolled a 7. And when you roll a 7 in Catan, you move the robber, you put it on a tile, and anybody who's got a settlement adjacent to that tile, you get to pick one of them and steal a card from them. It's a part of the game. And so I roll a 7 and I do that. And this other player gets very upset about it. They're like, I can't believe, I'm so upset. I can't believe that you would move the robber on me when you rolled a 7. And so him and the other player we were playing with both decided, you know what, we're going to team up on you, Josh. You don't get trades. You're embargoed, and every robber from now on goes on you because you used the robber first.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Use
and
the mechanic
their logic
of the game.
their logic was it's early in the game, and so you rolled a 7. You should have just moved it to the desert where it wouldn't hurt anybody, and we all could have just been having a kosher little like, oh, everyone's happy living in fantasy funland time playing Catan.
No, see,
it feels bad.
Okay, yeah, no, that feels bad, and I get that. I frequently say on the podcast that I'm not the most competitive person, but at a table where everyone is being competitive,
yeah,
I'm trying to win.
Of course.
And if I have the upper hand, I'm not going to gloat about it. I'm going to be real quiet about it.
Yes. Yes, but you also shouldn't be punished for like playing the game within the rules of the game.
No, that's fully fair. Like the idea, no, you shouldn't have attacked anybody in the early game is wild. It's like, no, I can cut you off at the knees now.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man. Can you imagine that in football? Like, okay, I scored a touchdown, but, you know, like, we're both, the game's just started, so, like, don't go for the extra point, okay? Like, we're all just having fun here. Can you imagine?
No, that's a great point. Like, okay, guys. Okay, team, huddle. No touchdowns in the first quarter.
That's right.
Oh my God. Imagine some like NFL games are like that. Yeah. And all the fans are like,
boo, you scored too early. Boo. Bad sportsmanship. Oh my gosh. If you're listening to this, Sam and Caleb,
oh no,
you guys stink.
Called out.
That's right.
Well, it sounds like you're the perfect person to go through these stories then, because you're going to know it from both sides.
That's right.
So we've got some stories of people that, I mean, I guess mostly if they're writing in because they felt ganged up on.
And these are the Am I the Stinker?
For the most part. We might have some from other sources.
Gotcha.
But I tend to find pretty good ones from Am I the Problem?
I'm just wondering ahead of time. So they're looking to know, okay, were they in the right or were they? Okay, gotcha.
And if there's updates, I'll give them to you. And if there's verdicts of whether or not they were the problem, I'll give.
Well, you've got the perfect person because my opinions are perfect and I have exactly what they need for me to weigh in and tell them. Yeah.
Opinionated Game Podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Coming soon.
I guess that's just another name for this podcast.
It kind of is. Yeah.
Kind of is. So this first story comes from r/Am I the Problem? From B-Zone Mix. Am I the problem for not wanting to play Uno with my family? Whenever my family has parties, we often get into playing random card games. One that pops up a lot is Uno. I like Uno, and of course, I don't follow the exact rules of Uno, but we have our own types. The problem occurs whenever we play. I always see them tell each other what cards they have, set up a bunch of +2 chains and all that, and I always end up being targeted and having to pick up the most cards. It's annoying and just ruins the game for me. I had enough and just packed up my Uno cards and said I didn't want to play anymore. I was called childish and that I was being like me again. So he puts that in quotes. Another situation was when I was playing with my sister and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend kept on targeting me and helping my sister out. And once again, I just felt left out and targeted. So I packed up the cards and just went back to my room. I told my boyfriend about this and he said that I'm in the right, but I shouldn't be taking Uno this seriously. And that he says he plays it like that with his friends, and no one ever really minds. But he also said that they are jerks for targeting me specifically, and that with his friends, everyone is targeted, so no one feels picked on. Am I the problem for not wanting to play Uno with my family anymore?
I'm curious what you think, because to me, there's like kind of two ways you can take this. Because if this is, because I've played Uno plenty, and there is an element of like, if someone's about to win, right? If they're on Uno, if they've got 2 cards left and everybody else has full hands, there's definitely an element of, okay, we're going to kind of band together and try and get that person extra cards, right? And that's just an element of the game, right? And so there's a little bit of context missing of, is this kind of family team up against them happening throughout the entire game, or is it just whenever they're about to win? Because if it's whenever they're about to win, that's part of it. You try and prevent whoever's about to win from winning so that, you know, you get a chance as the player, right?
Sure.
If it is just like, oh, the entire family's grouping together to be stinkers against this one person, then that sucks, right? Like, okay, that's not fun. But I guess there's a little bit of context needed there. I think you can also handle it one of 2 ways. You can like have a mature conversation with your family and say, hey, it doesn't feel good to be teamed up on. Please stop doing that.
Yeah.
Or you can just, you know, take your cards and run, I guess, like that.
Which is, it sounds like it's what they did, which might be why they have this reputation of being themselves.
Right. But on the other hand, if it is where it's just happening throughout the entire game, what's the point of playing at that point? It's like, that's less of, oh, we're playing the game of Uno, and that's just like family figure out the best way of puzzling our Uno cards together against the one family member we like the least, I guess. I don't know. I
mean, that's what it can feel like.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because if you take this at face value and they're like, whenever we play, they tell each other what cards they have and they line up these like things that are going to land on me.
Yeah.
If that's, like you said, if that's happening through the whole game.
That's awful.
Yeah. Walk
that's
away.
That's not a game. Yeah.
Don't do it. I don't know what the problem is.
That's like a secret. That's hazing. That's not gaming.
That's a good way to put it.
But if they're about to win, I've definitely been like, okay, I can skip them this turn, and then you've got to reverse, and then we can draw 2 of them or something, like, because they're about to win.
No, I think that level of scheming is very much fair play.
Yes.
And I'll do things like that. Like if we know that person's, like take Uno, for example. Mm-hmm. If we know that person's got 1, I'll be like, okay, guys, I can skip them.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, just sort of giving eyes, like,
or if you figure out what color their last card is, like, okay, we know they've got a yellow card left. Yeah. Like, nobody play yellow, right? Like,
there's some amount of table talk that's allowed, and that's okay because you are, like you said, just trying to prevent a winner.
Right.
But if you're just picking on someone,
that's no fun.
Not as
regardless
fun.
Of the game.
Yeah.
I agree. Do they give any additional context as far as like when this is happening? I'm also curious, like, how old this person is, right? Because if this is like if they're, let's say, the oldest kid and it's the parents and like a bunch of their younger siblings, and it's less of a, oh, we're all doing family game night as equals, and instead it's a, hey, older teen sibling, us parents and like your 8-year-old and 9-year-old siblings, like we're gonna try and get them into it. Like there's a little bit of, sometimes as the oldest kid, you fall on the sword a little bit of, okay, I'm going to be the target for my younger siblings to have some fun. But at that point, it's still less of everybody's playing the game as equals. And at that point, it's more just like I'm doing something for my younger siblings, right?
Looking at when this was posted and some of their other posts, I suspect this was posted late high school. Or early college.
Yeah. So that could be the case again.
Could be the case. Yeah. I mean, I'm an older sibling of 2.
Yeah.
You're an older sibling of 4.
I'm the oldest of 4. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You do take a little bit of pressure sometimes. Yeah. You're a little bit of a punching bag by default sometimes as the older sibling. It's okay. We learn to take it, and it makes us stronger, and it makes us better partners in future.
And then we work it all out in therapy later. It's fine.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
We just crash out like twice a week.
That's right. I mean, it's gaming adjacent, unrelated to tabletop gaming, but as the oldest sibling, when I got my first video game console, when I got my Xbox 360 as a kid, it was a big deal. Like my parents weren't really fans of video games, and so them letting me get
Sure.
And Xbox was like, they were like, okay, we're trusting you. You know, it was that kind of thing. And my part of I'm an eldest sibling, and so I've got to like suffer a little bit of the punching bag for my younger siblings, was that for every game that Josh wanted to get, he also had to get one that was playable by the whole family.
Of
and
course.
So I remember that along with Halo 3, when I got it, I also had to get B-Movie the game. And my parents made me play B-Movie the game with my younger siblings.
Not even like Kirby
Nope. It was B-Movie the game. It was awful.
I can't. How is that a game?
Oh, it was Barry B. Benson flying around trying to gather pollen. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Love that. No, I mean, I had similar things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, and maybe it had to do with me being an older sibling and like being forced to share.
Sure.
But I preferred the handheld games.
Like Game Boys, Game
for
Boy Advance,
so
all
long.
that kind of,
Yeah, like there were so many Christmases where my parents would like check back in and be like, "Are you interested in an Xbox or a PlayStation?" I'd be like, "No." I like my Advance SP, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I only play Pokemon games, and that's the extent of it, you know? And then eventually later, when my sister was older, she wanted a Wii.
Mm-hmm.
And that was sort of fine because all the Wii games were kind of
that's a good family
equalized.
console.
Yeah. And so we had like the Wii Sports, and then we got Just Dance, and we got all that kinds of stuff. And, you know, she could beat me at Just Dance because she's a dancer. So, you know, that was my sibling sacrifice, was like, no, I'm not gonna sacrifice. I don't think. I think I'm gonna play my handheld game.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely sounds like to this poster, it's not because they're winning.
Correct.
That's what this poster feels. Whether or not it's
something to have a discussion about, regardless of which circumstance it is. It's still something like, it's obvious that this poster is taking things personally, whichever is actually happening. And so if those kind of feelings are getting involved in it, just have a conversation. Just like sit down with the family and say, hey, this is how it feels when we play Uno. I'm either not interested in playing Uno anymore or interested in changing the way that we play it together as a family.
Yeah, don't throw a fit. Don't pack it up. Don't go pout. Try to handle it rationally first.
Yes. And if that fails, then stack the deck and deal yourself all the draw fours.
We're about solutions here.
That's correct.
Top comment from Alyssa Hargreaves. Not the problem. Personally, targeting someone is fine for a round or two, but we don't do it the entire game. We pick new victims to target that annoy us or get us to draw 2 or 4 or forget to say Uno. Thing is, it's all in good, harmless fun. But we don't share cards often because we do the double agent thing, so they need to stop that. I love the fun ways to play, but not at the expense of someone else, especially if everyone is clearly targeting a single player over and over. OP responds, "Thank you for this. I don't really have a great relationship with them, and playing with them just makes me feel worse. I feel better knowing I'm not in the wrong."
Their response to me reads like a teenager who feels frustrated. The I don't really have a great relationship with them line on a post about how they participate in family Uno nights is like, you know, this isn't like an estranged adult child who's like, I don't talk to my family anymore. This is someone who's like, I get frustrated at how my family plays Uno together.
There's
right?
a little bit of teenage angst.
There's some angst, and that's okay. Like, you can feel, everybody needs to feel the angst when it's coming in, you know, but you also have to take it with a grain of salt a little bit, you know?
No, I read this story on the cheating episode where the person was like, am I the problem for cheating? And then when my friend had a problem with it, calling her a witch, not a witch, witch, but not a witch, you know?
Calling her a stinker.
Calling her a bad name, and then not being friends with her anymore. And I was like, oh, man. And then sure enough, it starts with like me 15. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Sounds
I want
right.
the response to that to just be, yep. And then just move on to the next prompt.
No.
Oh, gosh.
We very carefully addressed it and tried to help.
What emotionally mature nuance.
No, it's funny. I mean, there's some things that you're just in those feelings.
Sometimes you're just caught up in the feels, and that's, again, have a mature discussion with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to know what the double agent rule is, because I've never heard of a double agent rule in Uno.
Yeah.
And like the responder that like,
I guess because if you share cards with each other, then when you need to turn on someone different, you know what they have. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, it's a rule.
I looked it up. It's just, so Uno has like they've come out with some varieties of Uno, and double agent is just an Uno variant. So it is Uno double agent, and it has its own set of unique rules, and it has some double agent cards that are involved there. So that's just a variant that I've never played before.
Yeah. Well, talk to your family.
Or get good. Just, win anyway.
Get good, he says.
How old is this post, by the way? I want to know if I'm actively taunting a current teen or someone who was a teen.
They were a teen 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. In that case, get good.
They're fair game.
Yeah.
Maybe you're good now. So this next one, I actually not so much cornered you at a party.
Sure.
But we were at an event and I was like, Josh, I know you play Magic.
Yeah.
I need you to explain something to me. And you were on it. So now you're getting the full story.
Okay, good.
This comes from r/EDH.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what that means.
That stands for Elder Dragon Highlander. It's basically the competitive version of Commander.
EDH, which stands for Elder Dragon Highlander.
You don't say. Does it now?
No, I'll let you have it. Okay. That would be funny though. Your face was like, you brat.
Just yoinking that one.
You brat. So this comes from r/EDH from Scopad. You're way behind. No chance of winning, but can decide who wins. I am new. Only played a few Commander nights at my local game store. One situation that keeps coming up that I am not sure how to handle. If I have no chance of winning, but can negatively impact someone to the point where they won't win either, what do I do? In some ways, I feel like I shouldn't be the one to decide who wins or loses. I wonder how others handle this situation.
Okay. I think I'm going to apply this in general to all games, not just Magic.
Sure.
As always, there's got to be a little asterisk that, it's always going to depend on the specific situation that you're in, right? Because there's going to be times where, depending on the people you're playing with, depending on what game you're playing, some unique situation may be different. But I think that when you're behind in a game and you have the ability to influence other players and the result of how they're going to do in the game, that means that you're not out of the game yet. That means that you've still got some, I'm used to calling it like the political play, right? That's the table talk. That's the influencing people with, hey, if I don't attack you this turn, then will you, if I scratch your back, you scratch mine, right? There's a little bit of that politicking, of that table talk that's, I think, inherent in most tabletop games, and especially in Magic and Commander, where you might feel like you're out, but that's still a resource you have where you're able to politic with people. So, for this poster, if they're playing Commander at their local game night, at their, their game store or whatever, if they're behind and they're feeling like they're out of the running, well, a lot of times in Magic, you can often draw down to something that will get you back into the game, right? And so at that point, if you're able to they've clearly still got enough influence to where they can determine who wins. Well, if that's the case, then you can find some ways of extending the game to maybe help yourself get back into it. I don't think that it's inherently a stinker move to say, hey, if you attack me, then I'm going to retaliate with this. Or if you don't help me out in this way, then here's what I'm going to be able to do. Because I think that's a part of the gaming experience, especially when you're at something like a game night at your local game store. And there, folks are there to try and win. You're being a little bit more competitive than maybe you would in just a friendly game at home. What do you think?
No, that's true. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I don't have experience with trading card games that can have more people at the table. Mm-hmm. Like, I know how to play the Pokemon trading card game, and I'm on TCG Pocket now. So I'm actually much more familiar with the rules now than I was as a 12-year-old or whatever. There's definitely decks that I have for Pocket where I'm like, oof, okay, bad opener. We're not at anywhere, but if I can survive, just like you're saying, if I can draw down to this Darkrai EX or whatever it is, then I have a chance now. So like, instead of picking someone else to win, if you just sabotage to kind of delay the game, like you're saying, that's a way to not pick a winner if that's what they're more comfortable with. Or, at your local game stores, me as an empath would be like, okay, who needs the win? Who looks like they need it? Like, is it the guy that's had a bad week and he's like actively sweating as his commander deck is like drawing thin? I don't know. But like you're like, okay, I need to toss him up. That would be me.
Sure.
But if it sounds like there's good neutral options if you don't want to be that person.
There are. And in my experience playing Commander, there's often like it is a part of the game that when someone pulls out in the lead, the rest of the table usually bands together for a bit of time to try and level things out again. And when someone falls behind significantly and the rest of the table's doing all right, often, they kind of get ignored as the three people who are in the lead now try and deal with each other. And so there's kind of a self-balancing act. Now, when it comes to competitive, like CEDH, that might be a little bit different. I haven't played that myself. There may be some element of this person's close to losing, so we're going to go ahead and knock them out now just so that, one threat is off the table, right? That may be a part of it. I'm not sure.
By competitive, you mean like in an actual tournament setting?
That's the idea that I get. Yeah. But I think it's normal in most multiplayer board games, tabletop games to, there's some element of self-balancing that happens with people at the table as, hey, the person that's in the lead, we don't want to win because we individually want ourselves to win, right? And so if you have the opportunity to still be a part of that balancing act, then that's fine. Going back to our Uno discussion, right? What you don't want to do is just start targeting someone and bullying them, right? Because it's like the poster said, if they've got the opportunity to decide who wins, that also means they're deciding who loses. Yeah. And so, you might say, oh, this person really needs the win today, so I'm going to help them win, and that's fine. But what you shouldn't do is be like, okay, we're all just going to target this person and pick on them until we make sure that they lose. That doesn't feel fun for that person, and it's probably not the gaming experience you want to be a part of.
I don't have a lot of love for politicking built into games. Because what
do you mean?
Like, there's the game like Coup and some others where you make those kinds of deals.
Okay.
And I get a little uncomfy with it.
Why is that?
Okay, a couple reasons. One, because I could make a deal and then have an opportunity to hurt that person. And I would be very tempted.
That's part of the game.
Do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't want to make promises that I might not keep.
Oh, okay. Listen, my family's got a saying, and we stole it from someone else. I don't know who. It's just become part of the family lexicon now, which is when we're playing games, you check your love at the door. And what that means is, obviously we still love each other, but what that means is that when you're playing a game, this started because I forget what the name of the game is. It's one of those liar games like Werewolf or something like that, where there are specific people that are traitors. There are other people who aren't. And obviously the traitors are going to lie when it comes to the discussions that are happening, right? And there was one moment where my mother looked at me and said, Josh, are you the traitor? And I said, no, Mom, I'm not the traitor. And she goes, do you promise? And as the traitor, it is my job to win as the traitor. And so I said, yes, Mom, I promise. And she said, okay, good. And so she picked me, and then I did my traitor thing, and she got really, really upset.
Some people really do.
And so then eventually we incorporated this. You check your love at the door, which just means as long as you're not being a jerk, but if you're playing the game as it was meant to be played, nobody's going to take anything personally. It's part of the game, right?
Sure.
And then afterwards, you go back to being a kind and loving family to each other, right? And so the politicking part of that, where it's like, hey, we're going to be we're going to try and politic in a way that gives me the advantage I'm looking for. And that means that there's going to be some element of trying to get one up on you, right? And if it's in the game, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you have there's a little bit of internal conflict between like I could pull the rug and just and win this right now.
See, this is what's very funny to me is like, because when I'm DMing, I am not afraid to go there.
Sure.
Like I have my eyes on the Old Gods of Appalachia RPG game. Haven't bought it yet, but probably will.
Sure.
For October. And if someone signed up to be in a horror campaign with me, all bets are off. I will, like, you do not know. You will have worms in your brain. Like, I'll go there.
Sure.
But if nobody has, like, signed a disclosure at the door, kind of, like, I'm very squeamish about this kind of thing. I remember when I was going to run a campaign last summer for some people, I made this, like, I was pretty proud of it, questionnaire, Survey Monkey questionnaire that was like, you know, what are you comfortable with? And I got some flack because one of my questions later down was like, what level of brutality are you comfortable with?
Sure.
And I was giving examples like, it's my vacation, man. Keep it Studio Ghibli. Nothing bad's going to happen to anybody. And then moved up a little and then moved up to like superhero movies. There's destruction, but not on the civilians.
Right.
There's always someone saving the civilians. Or then I like get to the point of like Attack on Titan, where I'm like, you can't love anybody. Yeah. You can't be like, you can't have faith that anybody's going to make it through this. And I gave that. And I got some flack from the players of like, they would write in their own answers. They would like write in other, and they would be like, I don't know about brutality. Like, I mean, I don't want to see brutality. And I was like, no, what I meant was, can bad things happen to good people?
Sure.
Can bad things happen to your character, and can you handle that? Or do you just genuinely not want to handle that? And so like brutality...
Is this storytelling or escapism?
Right. Yeah. Like, you know, what are we doing here? So I chose brutality as a word because I was thinking like, this will be brutal.
Right.
But I didn't mean like physical brutality. So it was like this weird thing of like, they didn't understand what I was asking, I don't think. And sure. Like based on the answers to some of your other questions, you're not a 5 on this scale. You're not ready for Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Right.
You can't handle it.
So do you worry about that when you're playing tabletop games as well, like board games? Because you know, taking it back to our discussion about politicking, right?
Yeah.
Where is that something where if you don't know the person's level of like how comfortable they are being betrayed, I guess
that's like, part of it. So like the first half was, I know I'm going to be tempted to be two-faced. Yeah. And then if someone is that way to me, I'm gonna feel a little bit about it. Like I might get over it. Yeah. But depending on who it is and our history together, if I feel like you're targeting me or specifically betraying me, there's going to be that little part of my sensitive brain that's like, oh, well, I see how it is.
Oh, okay, then. Those are the rules of the game, are they?
You know, so that's why I'm kind of like, I'll just avoid that. It's just not my favorite thing. Like even, I think Love Letters was one of the early games that I was introduced to. And Love Letters is not as openly politicking, but there's a little bit of it that goes on where you have to be sneaky. And I can handle that, but it's like that next level up that I'm like...
Well, that comes down to some of the games you're playing too, right? Because there are games that have that kind of deception or politicking, even if it's not lying, if it's just like, hey, we're going to there's the discussions with the other players about how we do things. There are games that have that baked in, and then there's others that don't. And so if you start incorporating that kind of gameplay, again, going back to our Uno example, Uno is not a game where built into the rules and the systems of the game, it's set up to encourage players to like plan out strings of cards that are going to be played in order to target a person. That's not. And so when that happens, when you're playing Uno, that's going to feel bad, right?
Yeah.
When that happens in other games, going back to Magic the Gathering, like it is intended for there to be tabletop politicking when you're sitting down to play a game of Commander. That's just part of what's built into that game. And so it's not going to feel out of place for that to start happening there. If you're playing a game like Catan and someone's like, hey, if you trade me this now, then the next time bricks get rolled, I'll trade you some bricks on the cheap, right? And then it happens and they don't do that for you. That's just them being a stinker person, right? That's not like, oh, it's part of Catan where you lie, right?
No, I think that makes sense too. And like, I think that's, going back to my RPG example, like, I think that's why I wanted to know so clearly.
Yeah.
Because we were doing it as like, some of us were taking actual PTO to have this game weekend. And I wanted to be really clear, like, hey, my headspace needs a noble, bright adventure where everything's golden and we beat the bad guy and we go home happy.
Right.
Then I want to give that to you. So it's like in a Catan game, if I say I'm going to trade you something, if it's within my power to do that the next turn, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
So it's when you bring these extra sneaky mechanics into a game that doesn't have it that people can get uncomfy.
Right. And so back to our person on Reddit.
Yes.
I don't think that they're the stinker for still trying to have some say over who wins the game. I would encourage that person that they should still try to prioritize them being the person who wins the game. Because as someone who has had it happen to them, it does feel bad when someone just decides that they're not going to win and helps someone else win. Like my brother used to do that when we were growing up, very young. We'd play Risk. And as soon as he felt like he wasn't going to win playing Risk, he would just decide who he wanted to help win. And usually it wasn't me. And so he'd help my dad. He'd just be like, all right, Dad, here, I'll put all of you. You're looking to take Australia. Here, I won't put any troops in Australia for you, Dad. I'll just put them all over here in South America and attack Josh over and over again. And that doesn't feel fun, because if it's each person going out to try and do the best for themselves, then yeah, I have no problem with the fact that he's fighting me. But if he's just intentionally helping my dad, now it's a 2v1. And I didn't sign up to play a 2v1 when I started this game. And that feels bad. And so to our Magic playing friend, like, yeah, still have some say over the game, but you should be trying to win. You shouldn't just be picking a person that you're like, all right, I'm going to do everything I can to help this person.
So it seems like most of the comments are saying similar things. Top comment from Orbiting Saturn 7 says, my flowchart is, can I win? Then can I help a player who has been an ally in this game? Then can I harm a player who has been a foe? Or can I help an unaligned underdog?
That is a fantastic flowchart. My only point on that would be that at the start of each turn, you should reevaluate that flowchart. Because
the flowchart comes back up. Right,
because new things may have changed. The game state may be different. You may have drawn cards that, okay, hey, I can actually get back into this. So that flowchart's a great, that seems like a great tool to have and use when you're in a game where you don't feel like you're having a chance of winning, but keep an eye out for having a chance to win.
They say, if none of these are yes and can guide my blade, I simply eliminate all possible targets to get the highest finishing spot possible.
That makes sense for competitive. I'd say my alternative to that is do whatever is going to be funniest. Like, there's definitely some opportunities to do a funny play.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that takes precedence to me. If they are doing this in a competitive setting, then obviously you want to get ranked as high as possible, try and get towards, whatever the reward is at the end of the tournament. So that makes sense. So
this is one's about Catan.
Okay.
It comes from r/Catan.
Oh.
which has a very popular subreddit. In case you're wondering.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
It is.
I find a lot of my stories there, if I'm being honest. I mean, not the most of them, but I get a fair amount from Catan.
People got strong feelings when they play Catan.
Yep. Surely do. This comes from NCH69. I had an awful first game of Catan because of one of my friends. A couple of friends from my friend group and I were at school. In our country, there are massive protests going on, so the school was under block, which just meant a bunch of us would go there and hang out. After a while, one of my friends pulled out Catan so we can play. He explained the rules to me. We separated into groups of 2, except me, because there were 7 of us there. I didn't mind that. So it sounds like they don't have all individual players. There's 3
it's like when you're
single.
Yeah. Hey, we're both going to be the green team or something like that.
Now the first team got their first resource. I was next and rolled a 7 and placed a thief in the area of the first team and took their first stone. I thought that was the main focus of the game, to take resources and expand. I guess I was wrong, which is where the person from the title comes into play. She instantly said to the other 2 teams they should form a triple alliance against me because I took the only resource from the first team. The rest of the game was those 6 against me. Whenever someone got a 7, it was always in my territories because it would break alliance if it was anywhere else. She would also deny any of my trades and then turn to the other teams and ask them for the same trade. She would also stop her boyfriend, the guy who brought the game and was super nice, from helping me when he tried. She would throw in a few mean jabs when she could. Later on, she would constantly be counting my cards to see when to remove half if there were too many, which she didn't do for any other player. She would say out loud to others to cut me off when they could. In one part of the game, there were no sheep because I was the only one that had a plot with sheep, and she still insisted to keep the robber there. And for those wondering, I traded the sheep I had with everyone. I had no beef with her ever, so I don't know where this came from. After the game, I was so annoyed, which sucked, because I was trying to relax because I had to remove my 8th tooth after that.
Wow.
Okay. Now I'm upset and stressed. I don't see myself playing Catan again because the only people that have the game are in this friend group. I don't want to bring this up as to not cause a scene. I don't know if she was doing this on purpose or why. Anyways, I just wanted to vent to someone.
That sounds similar to the story I shared earlier today. You're not the stinker. You're a perfect saint, and all the people you played with are awful, and you're a perfect person. There you go.
Sorry about your teeth.
Exactly. Okay, there's a couple issues here. Right?
Yeah.
The first being, I assume based on some elements of the story that, again, we're talking about some folks in maybe middle school or high school. And so
sounds that way.
When there's a specific player at the table who's kind of leading the charge against the poster, there are other high school social elements at play here that are not part of the game.
Sure.
And I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, so I'm not gonna. I will say that the whole like, oh, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to make a scene. You can talk about things that are upsetting you without it being making a scene. You can stand up for yourself and have mature discussions with your friend group and say, hey, I didn't like how that game felt. If we were to play it again, I'd want to not be the person getting targeted, right? You can have those. That's not making a scene. That's just letting other people know that you were upset with how something went. A big mistake as well is it sounds like there's a number of people at this game that had played Catan before, and the poster, this is their first time playing. Okay, well, if that's the case, when you're splitting off into teams, you don't make the newbie the person on the solo team.
Wild.
It's a wild and stupid decision. Maybe it was couples, right? Because they did describe like
at least
one player and their
couple.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, like, I get it. You know, if you're a teenager, the teammate you want is gonna be your significant other. Like, okay, I get it, but still, like, have a little social awareness and say, hey, this person who's just now learning the game may want someone on their team. And then, yeah, it's just someone being petty. Like, there's no need for that. The poster is not the stinker. Like, yes, if there was an expectation of, hey, we're going to have some friendly robber rules at the very beginning of the game until everyone's kind of established, and then we can, like, all agree collectively that now we're going to start using the robber as the game intended it to be used from the beginning, because we're a bunch of pambies who can't handle losing resources early on, then that's fine. But there should be that communicated ahead of time.
I think it's very unfortunate for this OP that they rolled a 7 on their like first turn.
Right.
And only one team had gone before them. So if you're a new player and you know that that's a thief, like, it's obvious that you're going to make this move. Yeah. And it would be up to the rest of the table to suggest some sort of extra robber rules, like you're saying.
So I've played Catan online with some friends. There's a website, I think it's called colonist.io. It's a fantastic way to play Catan online with friends. And they've got a setting. I don't know if it's an actual like optional rule in the board game proper, but they've got a setting on Colonist that's friendly robber. And what that means is, like, the game doesn't let you put the robber on someone until they've got their third point. Because the way Catan works, for those that don't know, is you start the game with 2 settlements. Each settlement is worth a point. And those settlements, you know, the surrounding tiles are the way you get resources. And that's how you start the game. And so you start the game with 2 points. And friendly robber rules are going to make it where, hey, you can't pick on anybody that's falling behind. You can't take advantage of folks that are having trouble getting going. You have to wait until folks have at least expanded a little bit, have at least placed down another settlement to start gathering another set of tiles of resources. And so it's a way, it's an option you can select where we're all going to wait a little bit before we start taking cards from each other. And that's fine. If that's how you want to play, that's fine. But again, that should be an expectation set before the game starts, not oh, you didn't know that this is how we play, so now we're going to punish you for the rest of the game.
No, those kinds of rules would align with my own moral compass. Right. In an extent. But like, for this person to have made one mistake, let's say. It's not a mistake, but let's call it that, because that's clearly what other people saw.
They're playing the game by the rules of the game, and other people are getting salty about it. Like, to
then say, okay, now it's all of us against you. Yeah. The new player.
And also to like stop someone who's decided, hey, this has gone a little too far, I'm gonna actually help, and be like, no, I'm your girlfriend and you can't do that.
You can't help them.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink. Okay.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of like clique behavior happening here, it feels like.
And again, that's the like teenage social situation angst. You know what? Yes. I, a mid-30s man, have all the solutions to your teenage problems. You know, that's, if you want my advice, write into Table Topics. Give us your questions and I'll tell you what you should do.
Sure.
Yep. I know exactly.
Send them to me on Instagram. I will make Josh answer them.
That's right.
I will bring you back here.
And I will tell you how to handle your high school situations, and you'll walk away as the new king or queen of high school.
What a promise.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
That's right.
I don't guarantee it. Josh is guaranteeing it.
That's right. No, that's just a messy. Honestly, I would have started telling them, like, guys, not on my 8th tooth day. Like, I would have started milking that. I'm down to so few teeth. Don't pick on me. Come on.
So the details in this post make it clear that this is someone's second language, and like their country has protests going on. The school's under block.
Well, and like I'm assuming this means like they're having to go in for oral cert. Maybe they're losing another wisdom tooth or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then like throwing in like, it was a bummer because that was the day I lost my 8th tooth.
Well, you don't want to go into oral surgery being like still mad about your Catan game earlier in the day.
Who does?
No.
Gosh.
You want to be like, yeah, that was a good Catan game. Now I'm ready to get this tooth pulled.
I'm ready. That's because I had all the sheep.
Oh man. You think, because you've seen like the videos of people getting filmed when they're coming out all high from their wisdom teeth removal. You think they came out still talking about how upset they were from Catan?
Catan game.
Their face is all swollen. They're just like,
rolled a 7.
It was only 1 stone. Oh.
Where was I supposed to put the teeth?
I rolled a 7. It was my fault.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cute. I would love that. Put that video on YouTube if it exists.
That's right, yeah.
Please. Well, top comment from Not Steve says, number 1, when you place your second settlement at the beginning of the game, you take those resources. Everyone should begin with 2 or 3 resources in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly they were already playing it wrong.
Sure.
Number 2, many groups play some variation on a friendly robber rule to give everyone a chance to get traction. In our group, this means 7s get re-rolled and don't count for the first 2 trips around the board. Other groups play it that you don't place the robber on anyone with less than 3 points. Number 3, alliances are part of the game. Sometimes you have to be better at the table talk than your peers. Which I guess is saying, well, you shouldn't have traded them any sheep if they were going to treat you this way.
I mean, kind of. They did have an embargo on sheep. And there is a way to play that, right? Like, hey, I get it, but I tell you what, I'll trade you like the 2 sheep you need at a discount, but my debt from earlier in the game where I stole your rock, like that's why no more ganging up on me,
no
right?
More
like,
ganging up
and
on
then
you.
of course that person who really needs the sheep is incentivized to like, oh, okay, sure. That makes sense.
This comment says, I agree with you. That was a major witch move by her. It's also nuts to split everyone into pairs except the one person who's never played before.
Thank you.
I feel for you, but you should definitely play again as the game is fun. Just maybe don't play with her again. And if her boyfriend is your friend, maybe mention that it was a rough first experience because I'd personally hate if my partner was picking on one of my friends for no reason. OP responds, we are all in a big friend group, which she is a part of, and she was never this hostile before, mostly just cold.
Okay, so there's the like mostly just cold, so maybe there is some like unspoken teenage animosity there. There also is the chance that this is just like she thought she was being funny and it wasn't, right?
Question,
Because that's
OP,
happened before.
Are you smoking hot?
Yeah. Do you bat your eyelashes a lot when you talk to Mean Girl's boyfriend?
Yeah.
Even accidentally?
Are you just so beautiful that you must be ganged up on to put you down? That's probably what it is.
That's probably what they're probably so smoking hot that the only way to take them down a peg is to gang up on them in Catan, a game they've never played before. Which, you know what? That is saying something. That is saying something that you've had 8 teeth removed and you're this smoking hot. Okay, like congratulations.
Wait a second.
Congratulations. Like you must have had like teeth to spare. Okay, surplus teeth, and you're now like that's the other way. Like you can gang up on this person in Catan or remove teeth, and that's how you bring them back down to an appropriate level of hotness.
Yeah. I get it. That makes sense.
Of course. You know, now I'm thinking you are the stinker. Like, how could you play Catan while being so hot?
Seriously, let us have something. My God.
You're hogging all the hot and the sheep.
You can't have the hot and the sheep and be good at board games.
I know. It sounds like there's some maybe a little unspoken tension, or it's just like not being aware that
oh yeah,
this is causing a bad time for OP.
Speaking as a former teenage girl, sometimes you think things are funny.
Yeah.
And they're not.
Well, and speaking as a former teenager, sometimes you accidentally hurt people's feelings without knowing it. Like I did that plenty. I found out from people like in my late 20s. They were like, oh yeah, you used to be a jerk in high school. And I was like, what?
Oh no.
And it caught me off guard because I was doing things that I thought was funny and it wasn't being interpreted as funny, but people wouldn't bring it up because they didn't want to make a scene. And so again, you know, there's an element of that that's on them for not communicating things I was doing was bothering them. And there's an even bigger part of that that's on me for not paying attention and being aware when the things I'm doing are bothering other people. But also, unfortunately, that's just kind of a part of growing up. is, you accidentally do things that hurt other people, and you go back and apologize for it and do better. I think you can probably, if OP said, this is all part of a big friend group that they're in, hopefully it's a good enough friend group where they can just bring it up and people will be understanding and play a little different the next time they get together.
Yeah. There's hope.
There's hope.
And if not, eventually you graduate.
Yeah. Or just like wear a bag over your head so they're not as distracted by your hotness while playing.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Solutions from Josh.
Any final thoughts on team ups or takedowns?
Team ups and takedowns can be really, really fun. Everybody should practice having good communication whenever possible. And everybody should work on improving their communication whenever possible. And if you're doing that, then you can have team up and takedown moments in games that are fun for everyone involved. But if you're not making sure that they're fun for everyone involved, or if they're not fun for you, then just speak up and say something. Because games are something that's meant to be, it's supposed to be something that brings us together socially, something that we're having fun with friends or family. And if it's not that, then it should be addressed. It shouldn't just be ignored because you don't want to make a scene or you don't want to start something, right? Address it. Go back to letting the games being fun.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think do your best to tell when someone is not taking it well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is either not taking it in the spirit that it is meant, or maybe just is not in that headspace today.
Yeah.
And back off.
And to all the listeners out there who aren't really competitive, who don't like those kind of games, that's okay too. You don't have to be someone who wants to participate in a game where you're like teaming up on somebody, or if you really want to avoid being teamed up on, that's okay. But again, it comes back to the communication element of it. Like, just tell folks, hey, if we're going to play games, I prefer to play this other kind of game. Or if you're going to play Catan where you bully a person the whole game, that's not a game that I want to play. And that's okay. You don't have to, there's folks that like different types of games, and you don't have to like all of them. You just have to be willing to tell people.
I totally agree. Well, those are our stories on today's table topic. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Tell us about it. Maybe you have a story of your own you want to share. We'd love to bring it to the table. Check out our links in the show notes. Good luck on your next game, and we'll catch you again here on Table Topics.
Thanks for having me on Table Topics.
Course.
This is fun. I had a good time.
Good.
If you enjoy me and want to listen to more of me, Opinionated Podcast or Opinionated Movie Reviews on Spotify, check it out. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have you back.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right. Bye.
Bye.